Now, there are countless times human beings rebelled against God in the Bible, but in this video, we are going to look at the three most outstanding rebellions in the Bible, which are number one, the fall of our first parents, Adam and Eve, in the Garden of Eden, which is recorded in Genesis chapter 3. And the second is the defilement of the sons of God with the women of the earth, which is recorded in Genesis chapter 6. And the last but not the least is the building of the Tower of Babel, recorded in Genesis chapter 11. Now, in this video, we are going to look at how these people rebelled against God and the consequences they each suffered. But before we go into this video, let us first and foremost gain the understanding of what rebellion in the Bible really means. Now, rebellion in the Bible is simply the act of disobeying God or opposing his commands or instructions, or also trying to give the place of God to some other creature or even yourself. Now, having understood what the meaning of rebellion is, let's quickly go into see how our first parents Adam and Eve rebelled against God and the consequences they suffered. Now, in the first rebellion, which is the fall of our first parents Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, God had earlier told them not to eat of the fruit in the middle of the garden, that if they did so, they were going to die. But when the devil came to tempt them into rebelling against God, he told them that the reason God told them not to eat of the fruit in the middle of the garden was so that they do not become like gods, knowing good and evil. Now, when you look at this rebellion deeply, you will understand that the reason Adam and Eve choose to eat of the fruit in the middle of the garden and become like gods was so that they can use the knowledge of good and evil that they know to maybe create their own human beings and also give them laws or instructions or commandments to follow as God did with or to them. Now, in the end, we discover that when God came for them, it was what God said was going to happen that was instituted. And so the consequences of this rebellion was God instituting the suffering and death that was supposed to come with that disobedience, and also evicting them from the Garden of Eden. And now to the second rebellion, which is the defilement of the sons of God with the women of the earth. Now, in this second rebellion, we discover that the sons of God decided to leave their heavenly abode and come down to earth to have sexual intercourse with beautiful women. And the result, as we see, was they are impregnating these women who gave birth to giants who lived on the surface of the earth. Now, because of the birth of these giants, as we continue to discover in the scripture, sin became very high in the world. There was so much killing, so much destruction, and all that because of them. Now, when you look at this second rebellion spiritually, you will discover that the reason the sons of God came down to earth to have relationship with beautiful women was not really because of sexual lust, but rather they wanted to come and start a species of human beings that they themselves were going to rule and control. But in the end, as we see, they and both the human beings had to suffer the consequences of that sin, because God reduced the lifespan of human beings from 700 plus to 120, and also destroyed that particular world with flood, saving only Noah, who was discovered as the only righteous person that was living on earth. That is, Noah and his whole family alone were the ones that were saved from the flood, and they were the ones that began the human race that we have till today. Now, in the last rebellion, which is the building of the Tower of Babel, we discovered how human beings had one language, one mindset, and because of that, they wanted to build a tower that would enable them get to God. Now, when you also look at this rebellion, you discover similarity with the first and second rebellion, because In trying to get to God, human beings were looking for a way to probably force God into giving them the power to rule themselves. Or maybe their aim was to force God into doing whatever was their heart's desire. Now, the consequence of this rebellion came when God confounded the human beings with diverse languages, which caused divisions among them. Now, when you look at the three rebellions that we have just examined, you discover that they have one thing in common, which is human beings trying to forsake or oppose the instructions or commandments of God and follow their own direction. Another thing is that with all these three rebellions, we discover that human beings were seeking their own self-will, their own power, become like God, do what they've probably been seeing God doing, or start their own world and have power or dominion over the things they are going to create by themselves. Now, when you look at the world today, this rebellion is still ongoing, because whenever we human beings oppose whatever instruction God has given to us, whatever God tells us to do here on earth, we rebel against Him. And you discover that when we oppose God, the next thing that is going to happen is that we are going to seek our own direction. We want to accomplish or achieve things our own way. We will try to use other means to control or achieve whatever we want here on earth. But one thing we fail to realize while doing this is that whatever we will attempt to use here on earth, whether idols, images, substances like roots, herbs, charms, or whatever we would want to take out of this world to use to achieve whatever we want, were all created by God. Which goes to say that we abandon the Creator and run after the things that He Himself created. Finally, as usual, please do not keep this message to yourself. Help me to share it so that other Christians can understand and learn from these rebellions, that whenever they attempt to go or oppose the instructions or commandments of God and follow their own direction, they are rebelling against God, and there are consequences attached to this. Remain blessed.